Good morning. Well, good evening, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of the Beauty in Us Radio right here on Awesome God Radio. Excited about the fact that you guys were able to join me for this abbreviated show this evening. As you all know, on Thursday we are going to be celebrating Thanksgiving. So we are celebrating Thanksgiving. So it's all about giving thanks. So this is going to be a very, very short and abbreviated broadcast, but I just wanted to speak to you all about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a national holiday that we celebrate every year here in the country and across other countries. But I wanted to take some time, I guess I'll give it about 30 minutes to actually speak about Thanksgiving and what it should mean and what it really means to us. So I'm glad you all were able to join me this evening. I know a lot of people have been in this holiday rush. A lot of people are traveling. A lot of people are going to be out of town with their families, and a lot of people are really going to be breaking bread with their family members, their friends, the people that they love and they care for. And again, we should be doing that each day throughout the course of the year, every year. But on Thanksgiving Day, we take some time out to really celebrate that. So we know about the history of Thanksgiving, but we also need to think about Thanksgiving from a much more practical approach. So when we think about giving thanks and when we think about Thanksgiving, we need to really understand what that means. So giving thanks is more than just an expression of gratitude. And we've learned about gratitude in the past and we talk about that often. But it is that we can say thank you to someone. We can say thank you to someone, and sometimes people take that for granted. But gratitude, in a way, is more than just words being exchanged between two people. When we think about Thanksgiving and when we think about giving thanks, we can think about gratitude, but we can also think about the mindset that sets in, and we can also think about our mentalities. And I think that it's a keen awareness because it talks about our dependence upon a particular thing or a particular person, and how that demonstrates appreciation through relationships that are in some ways or other ways considered to be very charitable. So when we think about giving thanks, we think of more about gratitude, but even beyond that, we think about the fact that Thanksgiving is not just a holiday of indulgence and stuffing, but we can also think about Thanksgiving in terms of it being a lifestyle. And actually, we can also, from a religious standpoint, we can think about God's grace and we can think about what God has done for us. We start off by celebrating Thanksgiving with our family members and friends, and we take that time to really take an inventory of our lives, and we also think about the people in our lives. So the people in our lives could be our spouses, our children, our grandchildren, our parents, our siblings, our coworkers, our friends, our neighbors, mentors, our students, if you're an educator, in ministry, if you're a pastor, and even in teachers. So when we think about Thanksgiving and when we really assess our lives and when we really talk about gratitude, we have to think about the people in our lives who are a part of that. Um, Oftentimes we forget to acknowledge and appreciate the people in our lives because we just count on them to be there for us every single day. But sometimes we don't often think about situations that we may find ourselves in when that person or when that loved one or family member or friend or whoever that person is, sometimes we don't often think about the fact that they may not be there forever. So sometimes we forget to cherish those sentimental moments with them. Sometimes we get so caught up in a rush and we get caught up in our own lives that we forget to take time out to really tell them how much we love them and appreciate them. Sometimes we forget to do that, and sometimes that person may not truly understand how valuable you are to them, how special you are to them, and how grateful you are to have them be a part of your life. So when we think about giving thanks and when we think about gratitude, we can start off by thinking about the people in our lives who we appreciate, love, and care for. We can think about the people in our lives who helped us get to where we are today. We have to be able to navigate the world, the obstacles that we find ourselves in this world, with people that we trust, people that we love, people we confide in, and people who continue to support us in every way. So it's important for us to think about the people in our lives who, again, can provide us with that support when we feel like falling and when we feel like our world has been turned upside down. So sometimes we forget about the people in our lives because we take them for granted and we just always expect them to be there. But it's really important. I think it's really important to give thanks and really tell them and show them how much you appreciate them, so that they can never leave this earth questioning that. And I think that that's very important for us to understand when we talk about giving thanks and when we talk about the people in our lives. And also when we talk about families and when we talk about friends and when we talk about the issues in our lives that sometimes we ignore or overlook or continue to beat a dead horse about, we have to sometimes let bygones be bygones with the people in our lives that we may sometimes have issues with, or sometimes we may have to agree to disagree on certain subjects. Sometimes we may not always be on the same page, but moving beyond that and looking toward a place of forgiveness and peace is much more important, because I've learned throughout the course of the pandemic and even prior that life is too short, and that a lot of people oftentimes spend their time stressed out about situations they can't control. Um, a lot of people have suffered a lot of loss emotionally, financially, spiritually throughout the course of this pandemic. And I think that the pandemic has really taught us now, since we're coming out on the other side of it, I think that the pandemic has taught us how to appreciate people more and show them how much that we love them and care for them. So a lot of us didn't do that before because we were just, again, caught up in our own lives and in our own way of doing things. But the second point I wanted to make when we talk about assessing our lives and when we talk about giving thanks and when we celebrate Thanksgiving Day with the people in our lives, I think that it's also important for us to understand our personal health and how we can be thankful for our health. So, in other words, if we have eyes to see, if we have ears to hear, if we have a mouth to speak, if we have legs to walk, and if we have arms to raise, I think that it's important for us to understand that we can just give thanks to our Heavenly Father for the fact that, we can appreciate our health. Sometimes we take our health for granted. Sometimes we put our health on the back burner, and sometimes we sacrifice so much in our professional lives and in our personal lives with our families and with our spouses, our friends, and the people we interact with and encounter on a daily basis, that sometimes we neglect ourselves in the process. So when we think about the people in our lives being appreciated and being honored, we also have to think about acknowledging ourselves and really putting ourselves first. When it all comes down to making our personal health our number one priority. Some of us stress out about situations that we can't control, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's with our finances, whether it's with the people that we may not get along with. We often stress out about things that we that are out of our hands, and that takes its toll on our health and on our peace of mind. So when we thank God for the people in our lives that He's placed to love us and support us unconditionally, we can also think about our health, our personal health. And I encourage everyone to focus on the people in their lives and their personal health, because I think that when you have your health, you have everything else, and all of the rest of the things, the other components of your life and in your life fall right into place when you have your personal health. Whether, again, when we talk about our health, we can think about how our relationships can fall into place more often than not. We can also think about, our careers, where we may be headed. We can also think about self-development. Again, grooming ourselves and just strengthening our character on a daily basis. So I think that our health should be our number one priority. And it may sound trite, but if you don't have your health, everything else is very difficult for everything else to fall into place when you don't have your health as your number one priority. And I encourage everyone to choose their health first and make their health their number one priority. There's nothing worth sacrificing your peace and your sanity for, um, you know, in exchange for your health. Your health is more important than anything. So there's nothing worth sacrificing that for. So we've talked about the people in our lives, and we talked about our personal health, and we can um, also think about our spiritual blessings. So again, when we talk about spiritual blessings from a religious standpoint, we have to think about most of what we have listed, and and we have to think about the things in our lives that are tangible or at least visible blessings, but we are not in the position to really compare that to the blessings that we don't see every day. So in other words, those unseen blessings represent peace, grace, hope, joy, contentment, assurance, eternal security, mercy, and rest. So again, our spiritual blessings come from our heavenly Father. So when we think about our spiritual blessings, we have to thank our heavenly Father for that, because because of our faith. We have to think about the joy. We can always find something to be angry about. We can always find something to be unhappy or unsatisfied with. But when we have joy in our hearts, regardless of what the situation may look like or however it may appear, we are in the position to have a better outlook on our lives. We are in a better position to feel joyful in every component of our lives. And again, everybody else can feed off of that joy too. When you put a smile on your face and when you're very joyful, you bring positive vibes and energy around you wherever you go. So it's really significant for us to really remember that, because so many people walk around without joy, without assurance, and without peace, and without being content with where they are. A lot of people spend so much time feeling unhappy about where they are in their lives. And oftentimes people can't find joy. And I think that you can find joy in any and every situation. Um, I think that you are responsible for feeling joyful in each situation that you may end up in. You may not be satisfied all the time where you are, but you have to really understand that God has a purpose for you in your journey. And because, wherever you may end up, God has placed you there for a reason. And that's something that I always remind myself. I always remind myself of the fact that, sometimes I'm not always pleased with the way things may be going. Sometimes I may not be pleased with um, the situations I may find myself in. And sometimes I just question God and ask, why am I going through this? Why do I feel this way? But again, sometimes God places us into situations so that we can come out on the other side of it with a humble spirit and with a much better and much more mature outlook on that. And that's supposed to make us a better people, and again, better Christians, children of God. So these are some of the things that I like to keep in mind too. Sometimes it can be very difficult to, find joy again in situations that you don't like or that you may not be satisfied with. But again, when you have your peace and when you keep the hope alive, you can again have a much better outlook on things. You can send positive vibes everywhere you go. You don't have to kill the vibe anywhere you go. You can send positive vibes from your way to someone else's way. You can be that blessing in other people's lives. When we speak about spiritual blessings, we can think about the way we can use our gifts to help others. And when we think about giving thanks, and when we think about gratitude, we can think about the joy in each and every situation. We can think about the way we can conquer pain. Unfortunately, a lot of people during this time of year experience a lot of pain. A lot of people around this time of year, this is, I guess, I think the pandemic has really exacerbated this, but I often read about the suicide rates around the holidays. I often read about a lot of people who are very depressed around this time of year. Sometimes we often forget about the people who may be suffering from suicidal thoughts or may even make attempts to commit suicide. And I think that it's very important for us to again remind everyone that their life matters, and that they are in the position to seek help and obtain any resources they can so that they can feel better inside and out. So I think that it's important for us to understand that again, we have people um, who are sad around this time of year, But again, we have to connect them to the resources so that they don't feel depressed, and so that they don't feel that sense of sadness and isolation. And I think the pandemic has exacerbated that. Not being around people, not being in a position to really hug people and tell them, I love you, not being able to touch them and see them face to face. I think that that's worn on people for the past 2 years. And now, since we're coming on the other end of the pandemic, I think that we all should have a much more humble attitude about that, and we should appreciate that more. Telling our family members and our friends that we love them and appreciate them. The people who suffer from suicidal thoughts and from mental illness, and who may not have people in their lives to turn to whenever they need help or whenever they need support, a lot of them are struggling right now. And this week and this Thursday, we sometimes, again, we're with our families, but we sometimes forget about the people who may not have a family to dine with and really feast with, and to talk about everything that they're thankful for and everything that they appreciate and love in their lives. A lot of people have suffered from a lot of loss throughout the course of the pandemic. So a lot of people may have a difficult time really finding things to be thankful for and finding things to be grateful for. But I think that, again, we need to really, really remember that. And we have to really, really cherish the people that we have in our lives now. We can find peace, we can find joy, and we can keep hope alive, and we can be content with where we are. Oftentimes we think about the things that we do not have, but I think it's very important for us to understand that God has placed the people in our lives for a reason. He's placed us into situations so that we can have a testimony to share, and so that we can demonstrate perseverance and resilience in each and every situation. There's no room for growth if we don't really go through anything. There's no room for growth if we aren't in a position to really share our testimony with the people that we love and the people that we care about. We all have a story, and we all have a testimony to share, and our testimonies can help others. Our stories can help others. And when we think about gratitude and things to be thankful for, we can also remember our testimonies and our stories, because when we live our stories, that's our experience, and we don't need anyone to validate our experience. We just need the Heavenly Father to communicate with on a daily basis. Sometimes I think that my most intimate moments are with my Heavenly Father. When I pray every day, and when I read my devotionals, and when I really spend some time in the morning with God, and even before I close my eyes to go to sleep, I definitely think about the things that I'm grateful for, and I also think about some situations and some people even that I may have a hard time with, and I always bring it to God. So, and I always, again, I speak about it in my therapy sessions all the time, about my relationships and how I'm always working to grow in my relationships with others, be more open. And I think that what I've learned throughout the course of 2022 is the fact that, in order to heal from a broken heart, and in order to really find joy and peace and contentment with where you are, it requires you to really dig deep and really focus on the things that bother you. It requires you to really think about the things that make you angry, and really healing that and moving forward, because of who may have caused it, or who you may have the issue with. I think that, again, when we begin with our anger, and when we begin with whatever or whoever we're dissatisfied with, everything else can fall into place. So throughout the course of 2022, I've learned how to just, again, focus on my happiness and my peace. I think that your happiness and your peace should matter more than any dysfunctional relationship. I think that your happiness and your peace should be your number one priority, regardless of whatever situation that you may be in. And again, letting go of the past and moving forward and forgiving people for their wrongdoings is something that can definitely put you in a much better space emotionally, spiritually, and even physically. We spend so much time being angry and feeling angry about situations and about people who may have wronged us. And what I've learned personally is that you know you your forgiveness is supposed to be beneficial for you. You forgiving other people for their wrongdoings, you moving forward, you healing. It's about you. It's not about the other person. Whether or not they are in the position to really receive that and really admit when they're wrong or really apologize for that is something that's not up to you. You're not in control of how you may respond to someone in a situation that may not have worked in your favor. You are only in control of your response. So feeling joyful is a choice, feeling happy is a choice, having peace is a choice, feeling content, a feelings of contentment, that's a choice. So you have a choice to feel however you want to feel in any given situation. Nobody else can force you or make you feel any type of way but you. And that's what I've learned throughout the course of 2022. So I think that as we say goodbye to 2022, I think that as we say somewhat of a goodbye to the pandemic under some sense of normalcy that we now have, I think that again, we have to focus on the things that we're not happy with. And we have to really focus on healing and moving beyond our hurts. Um, Acknowledging them is the first step, but healing them and moving forward and addressing them first definitely puts you in a better frame of mind. And when we think about our community of people, we can think about the people that we can run to whenever we need support. We often go through battles alone. We often go through battles without reaching out for help. We often go through battles thinking that no one's going to help us or no one's going to care and no one's really going to really be willing to really listen to us. But that's false because we can always find someone to connect with, share stories with, and really be that shoulder to cry on whenever we feel like falling because we weren't meant to walk this path solo. There's nothing wrong with being independent and there's nothing wrong with wanting to be your own person and fight your own battles, but we all need someone to really vouch for us. We all need someone rather, to advocate for us. And sometimes I forget that, I do have a strong support system and I have so many people who love me and care about me. But I do have people that I do vouch for and that I do advocate for. And I find that everyone doesn't have people to vouch for them. Everyone does not have a strong advocate in their corner. And so that's why it's very important for us to really um, be that rainbow in someone else's cloud. To quote Maya Angelou, be that rainbow in someone else's cloud and try to be the best person that you can be and that we all can be rather, so that we can be that best role model and demonstration for Christ, to someone else who may not know God and who may not know Jesus. It's our responsibility as Christians to be that best representation of Christ, but it's also our responsibility to be that rainbow in someone else's cloud, and to really vouch for the people and really stand by people who need an advocate. Sometimes we can be our own best advocates, but we still need people in our corner to run to and to turn to whenever we need that extra push. We all need that extra push. Anybody who believes that they don't need anybody has a very warped reality because, again, we may not be in a position to fight all of our battles alone, and we're not. Yes, we have God, but God also places people in our lives to help us fight our battles. So I really hope that you guys really, really take some time out to really give thanks when you sit around the dinner table on Thursday evening, and when you pass around your mashed potatoes, your mac and cheese, your fried chicken, your collard greens, your string beans, and everything else. When you take time to do that, I hope that you really take time out to really tell your family members and friends that you are gathering around with how much you love them and appreciate them. You don't ever want people leaving this world thinking that you don't love them. You don't want people leaving this world thinking that they were not appreciated. You don't want people leaving this world feeling unsupported. So a lot of people take the simple words, I love you, for granted. A lot of people don't say that because a lot of people assume that people should know that they're loved, but everyone doesn't know. You have to constantly remind people how much you love them. Don't just assume that they know. They may know, they may not know, but it's your responsibility to let them know how much you love them and to show that, not just say that, but to show that. And sometimes the best support is just being there. So I think that when we think about being supportive, when we think about loving people and really demonstrating that, our presence speaks for itself. So when we show up and when we are committed to people in our lives that we say that we love and care about, when we show up and when we're there for them when they need us, that person appreciates that. That person is willing to acknowledge that. And people remember that. People are always going to remember whether or not you really showed up for them when they needed you. People are always going to remember whether or not you were their advocate or whether or not you really vouched for them in situations where they needed you. Again, no one wants to feel abandoned. You never want people to leave this world feeling abandoned. We always there's always someone out there for us. And sometimes we may be in a position where we build this wall and we have a really hard time really trusting people and believing in people. And sometimes what I've learned is that sometimes you just have to put yourself out there when you're trying to meet new people and build new relationships and really grow and nurture those relationships. Sometimes you just have to put yourself out there and hope and pray for the best, but know that, just because things may not work in your favor doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. So when we think about our relationships and when we think about joy, when we think about being content and happy with where we are, when we think about our spiritual blessings and how that can be a blessing to others, when we think about the people in our lives that God has placed to really help us along the way and through different chapters in our lives, and when we think about our health and how our health can be and should be our number one priority over everything, we can definitely give thanks and we can definitely demonstrate gratitude. So if you've never done it before, this is the day, this is the time where you can really do that. So I just hope and pray that you all have a great Thanksgiving. I'm very happy that I do have a strong support system. I do have people in my village. I've throughout the course of the pandemic, I've opened myself up to new connections and to new people, and I've shut the door and closed the chapter on some old people because I've realized that sometimes God moves people out of your life in order to introduce you to new people. And so I'm focused for 2023. My focus, I don't know about you all, but my focus for 2023 is to really take the pressure off of myself to really have high expectations for people and to just accept things for the way they are and realize that it's not the end of the world, and to really just not hold grudges. I'm focusing on just trying to be a free spirit as much as possible, not letting situations and people stress me out to the point where I'm feeling discontent or I'm feeling bitter about a situation or about a person. Strengthening my forgiving spirit is what I'm focused on for 2023. So, you know, forgiving more people and letting go of the past, more things that have happened in the past that I may have not have been happy with, and really, you know, really, how can I put it? Really just, accepting it for what it is, forgiving that person for that situation, and really moving forward and feeling okay on the inside about it. That's what I'm focused on for 2023. I don't know about you all, but for 2023, I'm trying to focus on having a forgiving spirit and letting go of more grudges and just really again, just taking the pressure off of myself to really do things that I don't have to do in terms of just being unreasonable, just being very hard on myself. I'm focused on just letting go of all of that in 2023, and also letting go of high expectations and unreasonable expectations of other people, and just not letting it get to me. So that's what I'm focused on for 2023. But I hope you all have really enjoyed the show. Make sure that you subscribe to Awesome God Radio on YouTube. Make sure that you follow us on all of our social media platforms at Awesome God Radio on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, you name it, we're on it. And make sure that you follow me on social media at Nelson E. Brown on Instagram and on Twitter, and on Facebook and LinkedIn, it's at Nelson Brown. I hope that you all have a great Thanksgiving. And remember what I said, just when you pass around the chicken, when you pass around the potato salad, the mac and cheese, all that stuff that clogs up your arteries, when you do all of that, just make sure that you tell your family members and friends that you meet with, and that you dine with, and that you feast with, and just make sure that you tell them how much you love them and appreciate them. You can never have too much love, and that's what I've learned. You can never have too much love from family, from friends. We all need people in our corner. And my heart goes out to the people who may have lost people this year. My heart goes out to the people who feel like they're by themselves this year. My heart goes out to the people who have had a lot of internal issues and struggles this year. My heart goes out to the people who may have experienced feelings of suicide, people who may have suicidal ideation. My heart goes out to you. People, again, who may have lost their loved ones this year. My heart goes out to you. I want to connect you all to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So you are always in the position to call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988, and you're also able to text GO to 741741 to reach a trained crisis counselor through the crisis text line, which is a global not-for-profit organization. And that's going to be available to you 24/7, and everything's confidential. So again, your life matters. Your life is important. Don't allow any situation to dictate how happy you may be. Don't allow people to steal your joy. Don't allow people to steal your peace. We are always in a position to give thanks. We are always in the position to be grateful for where we are and what we have, and to focus on that rather than what we don't have and who's not a part of our lives. So again, remember, it's happiness is all about us, how we choose to feel. We're in a position to feel happy. We are in the position to choose happiness, and to choose peace, and to choose forgiveness, and to choose all of the other fruits of the Spirit that are a part of the Bible that I've read about and that you've probably read about. So before I sign off, I want to just let you all know that next week on the 29th of November, right here on the Beauty in Us Radio, we will have another show. We will have another broadcast. But I'm going to definitely think long and hard about next week's discussion. I'm still trying to work through some things throughout the course of the course of 2023. I've already I'm wrapping up 2022, and I'm focused on 2023. So I have more things on my agenda that I will share with you in the coming weeks. But this is Nelson E. Brown signing off. So again, this is the Beauty in Us Radio right here on Awesome God Radio. I would like to thank you all for being active listeners. I'm thankful for the fact that you all have given me an opportunity to really share my story, and to really be transparent and open and honest about my struggles that I continue to wrestle with. I'm thankful and grateful for the fact that I do have an audience, and that I do have a community of people who really allowed me to speak on behalf of so many young men who look like me, because oftentimes our voices aren't heard as often as they should be. So I love you all, and I appreciate you all, and I will see you all next week. But before I sign off, I will mention to you all, I almost forgot, that I will be receiving the Social Change Award from Kathleen Kennedy Townsend. So I will be meeting Kathleen Kennedy Townsend. That's a mouthful. I will be meeting with her on Tuesday, December 13th at 10 a.m. at Civic Works. So she's going to be presenting me with the Social Change Award at Civic Works in a couple of weeks, in 2 weeks, on December 13th at 10 a.m. So I will be meeting with Kathleen Kennedy Townsend. So she will be presenting me with that Social Change Award. So I won that award earlier this month. I forgot to share that with you all, but I will be receiving that award from her. I will have a chance to meet with her and take photos and really network with her. It's cool to know her, to be meeting one of the Kennedys. It's so amazing, and I've been so honored and blessed by so many of you who continue to provide me with opportunities to really be that advocate for social change. I really appreciate all of the organizations that I've been able to partner with and really support. Journey to Josiah, Civic Works, MedStar Health. I mean, all of you guys have been truly, truly a blessing in my life. All of the people in my life throughout the course of 22 have been such a blessing. So I love you all. I appreciate you all, and make sure that you continue to just, to just give me a chance to, tell more stories, because I have more things to share. I'm so blessed and thankful for all of you, and I will see you all next week. So I love you all, and I appreciate you all. Stay warm. Calories don't matter on Thursday. So just enjoy yourself and just